you come into this and you don't know, you can't know if it's going to work until you're inside. You can't, right? You have to come into it with a little bit of blind faith and say, I get the impression. OJ. So OJ was who I spoke to before I joined the community. And OJ, immediately I felt this sense of calm and confidence from him that gave me that initial hope that I needed. But even after I'd spoken with him, I didn't sign up. I was like, I've given up, right? Like I've just given up on trying things. But it took a little while. It just like took a little while for my brain to process, and digest. And then I thought to myself, if he can do it and he's as calm and at peace and like living his life, like that's what I want. That's where I want to be, And so I said, let's talk again. And he finally, he never asked me to join. He just said, do you think this is something that could help you? And I said, and I actually was the one who said, yeah, I actually do. Because if it's anything like you, I want to do it. But the hope piece came in once I got through the door. That was where I had to check at the door any doubt. And I had to just say, listen, I've tried it all. My list is long. All right. I have to go into this with some blind faith, right? I have to say, I'll figure it out as I go. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, but I don't need to have the answers. I don't need to have to solve this problem right now. I can just come into it and have the hope and the faith that in time, no matter how long it takes, if it takes 1 month or 5 years, right? If I even had to put in 5 years worth of work or 10 years worth of work to get the next 60 years of my life back, that's still a good exchange, right? So it didn't matter how long it took. It was invest the time now, do the hard work. And there's so many parallels here to business and everything else in life. You don't get instant gratification and get the result you want typically. You have to be able to go into it with some hard work mindset, to know that things are going to be difficult, but you have hope and faith and confidence in your own ability to apply yourself, that you can get to where you want to be if you surround yourself with the right people.
All right. Hey, folks, welcome back to the channel. This is Shiv here, one of the mentors at Bye Bye Panic. And I am really honored to be here today with one of our clients who absolutely crushed it, Jason, all the way from Wisconsin. Nice, cool weather there. And Jason, man, you just been awesome. You came into this program. Like I said, you crushed it. And we're excited to be here now with you, just living life, living the dream, right? Recovered. Talk to me, man. How does it feel to be here?
I couldn't have imagined it when I joined the program that I would actually be in this position. I remember watching videos like this on the channel and thinking like, man, what is it like? How does it feel to be there? And, like it's got to be so far away. It's like, you can't even imagine that there's a point in time where you'll be able to have a conversation like this and actually be the one in the video, not the one just watching videos trying to get relief, right? Trying to seek that solution. And it feels very, it's kind of an emotional thing because you've been on this journey so long, right? Like you've been experiencing this so long and it's been so hard that when you finally get to that point that you're living your life again and you're getting the potential back out of your life, it's hard to imagine that it could be real.
I relate 100%. And I lived all the way here in the Caribbean, and I felt like mental health, anxiety, all of these things were just not understood. But as I travel and I, experience different places, different cultures, I realized that it's everywhere. A lot of people just don't understand it. They don't have hope. So I'm so glad that you shared that, man. But tell me, let's take it from the beginning.
Yeah.
How did this all start? Like what was your biggest symptom, man?
So for me, it was back when I was 23 years old. I had just finished up college, got my first real career. I had a job before that for a short period of time, and I got finally into my career. And I remember I was sitting at my desk working with a client, had just finished up with the client, just said goodbye to him, walked him out. And all of a sudden, like this just wave came over me. And now I know it was just pure panic. It was a panic attack, but it was this wave of sensations. I started sweating. I started feeling like I was going to pass out. My chest was tight. I felt like if I stood up, I would collapse. It was bad. It was so bad that I went to the bathroom, tried to splash some water on my face, try to feel like just a little bit of relief, right? I went back to my desk, tried to keep going. And I was just so encompassed in those feelings and in that emotion in that moment that I ended up just saying, hey, I got to go home. I don't feel good. I ended up going to the emergency room because I felt like I was having a heart attack. And of course, when I got there, they first time I had been there for something like this, so they of course treated it like it was serious. They took me back, EKGs, whole bunch of tests, and then they were like, "You're totally fine." Of course, I didn't believe anything they said, right? Because at that point, even at that moment, I was like, "There's no way I felt something that significant," and it wasn't bad. But for me, that was where like it all began in that moment. Now, there's like looking back, understanding it now and being where I am now, I can actually see that there were you can see that there were bits of it that had appeared before in my childhood, teenage years, like leading up to that moment. There were periods where I definitely experienced a miniature version of that, and it wasn't until I really went through the full experience of a panic attack that you can start to relate to like, hey, this has been something that maybe has been building in my life a lot sooner, and it's kind of just been like a lifelong thing that I didn't know how to properly address.
Wow. Taking it back to, you said at age 23,
Yep.
that happening to you, you're thinking, I'm too young to die, right? Like you're thinking,
Yeah.
man, what is this? Because it feels like that impending sense of doom. And you start thinking about, so do you think that you really spiraled at that point? You didn't recognize it was anxiety, right? So you
Yeah.
tried things, but it took you this long to eventually find us. We probably weren't there back then,
No.
right? By panic,
Yeah.
but you would have done a bunch of things. Were there
Yeah.
certain symptoms that you really struggled with? What's the biggest symptom between then
Yeah.
and now that you're recovered? But what was like that biggest symptom? And then we'll kind of go into some of the things that you tried before finding us.
Yeah. So my biggest symptom was hands down the cardiac stuff. And then I would say I would have a top three, right? Top three symptoms that if it was any one of those three, I was going to spiral,
Okay.
like without a doubt, right? And so one of them was if my heart was feeling, racing, or I was having palpitations, I was super aware of it. If I had reflux, that was one of the other ones. I had really, really bad reflux.
Hmm.
And then for me, the other one was like just aches and pains in my body. Like if I had like the aches and the pains, like joint pain and stuff like that, those three things, any one of them appeared. And almost every single time I was spiraling, one of those three was the dominant factor that led to that and got you really sucked into the rumination and the thought processes that just kept this perpetuating and amplifying. And the cycles would be anywhere from weeks to months to sometimes even as long as a year for me. I can remember just spending time just completely engulfed in this for like a year at a time. And this went on from that first panic attack at 23 until 14 years from there was when I was really like consistently cycling, right? Like really, really intensely. And I had tried everything to make this to solve it, because I'm a problem solver, right? That's what my brain likes to do. I love to solve problems. I'm successful in business because I solve problems. I thought, hey, I can solve this too. I mean, it started with Xanax, right? The doctor gave me Xanax. Hey, you just need to take the edge off, right? It led into trying Lexapro because they thought, well, this works for depression. It also works for anxiety. Let's try that. Honestly, both of those just made me far worse. In my case, the Xanax would take the edge off, but if I didn't take the Xanax, then I would feel worse. And so there was like this cycle going on there. I had tried cognitive behavioral therapy through a talk therapy, right? I'd done that for a while. What I found was they were just finding problems I didn't even know I had. And so that was not really helpful. So I decided I needed to step back from that. I tried St. John's wort. So I tried natural supplements. I tried meditation. I tried changing my diet. I tried Wim Hof method. I tried cold showers, journaling, positive affirmations, writing those sticky notes, putting them on the mirror, and I think, by the way, I want to say, I think most of those things are actually really good things for us to do when you're healthy, because they'll propel you in different ways in your behaviors, your habits, your thought processes. But when you're in the cycle, those are not the things that are going to get you out of the cycle. They will not solve that problem, but they can help you in other areas of your life. Things like, cold showers, it's good for your health, right? Like they are good, like ice baths, cold shower. There's positive health benefits, scientifically proven. Things like doing meditation, we all know it's good for well-being. There's scientific proof that those things are good for you. And of course, eating healthy, right? All of that. But not any one of those is the cure for this, right? And that's what I learned through this process, that those are great things. They won't cure this problem.
Wow. I could just listen to you talk, man, because I see myself in you. I was there, and like you, I was a client of this program, recovered, and I became a mentor. I'm a huge advocate for it. So being an advocate for the program, I would tell anybody that this is what helped me. I like to joke around and say I was like Doctor Strange, in that Marvel movie when he broke his hand. Remember, he was a surgeon and he was perfectionist, and he would always solve problems, and he was so intellectual that he would let you know that he was smarter than you. So I always felt like him. Thankfully, anxiety happened to me and I changed because I needed to change. But I was like him. I searched the world looking for the cure. I left my country. I invested thousands of dollars and I did so many things. I remember even.
Oh gosh, the money, man, the money, dude. Just the money I spent on all these things. I don't even want to add it up. Don't even want to add it up. So
right. I was about to ask you, man. You said you tried so many things. Did you try hypnosis?
So I bought a course on hypnosis that was like audio hypnosis.
So did I.
And it was supposed to do, and I did I'd listen to it. I'd leave the AirPods in, go to bed at night, play it like they tell you. None of that stuff worked, right? And I think like every single one of these things, the common denominator was I got some level of temporary relief, right? Whether it was placebo effect or it was actually some short-term benefit I was experiencing from it, but I wasn't actually addressing the root cause. And so without addressing the root cause, you're not going to get long-term result. You're only going to get temporary relief, and I did experience temporary, like the Linden method is a good example. And I want to give credit, like the guy who created that program, he is really trying to make a difference. And I think that there is a lot of quality to what he teaches, but I think for long-term relief, what made sense to me about this program and why that program didn't work for me was because it was less focused on you retraining the thought patterns and more focused on you creating enough distraction that a period of time passes that you're just not engaging in it. Now, could they both get you to the same place? Maybe, I don't know. It didn't work for me, but it also just didn't make as much sense once I had found this program. It made sense to me why that didn't work. And I tried that for about 2 years and it just didn't work. Yeah. And it was like stuff like literally creating a schedule during your day, and every waking moment of your day, you had to have something that you had to be engaged in, because if you were engaged in something else, you wouldn't be able to be engaged in anxiety. Now that principle in itself makes a little bit of sense, right? But at the same time, you're sort of just ignoring it, and ignoring it is not going to make it go away. Like that's what I realize now. But at the time I was so desperate for a solution that I would have done anything. And I thought, I got nothing to lose. Let's try this, right? I realize now that there is literally only one way, right? There are many people who now understand this, and are applying it, but there is still only one process that gets the result.
Wow. Well, you definitely are experienced for going, through this over a decade. I think you said about 14 plus years, trying multiple things, the time invested, the money invested, and finally finding this program. Because that's what was going to be my other question to you, your experience here. So you already started to touch on that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I remember meeting the mentors here, meeting Sean, and hearing, man, you just need help over that final hump. So maybe for the folks that might be out there, looking at us right now, they have an
Yeah.
idea about our approach and the things that we teach. But let's talk about just coming into this program. What was your experience with the mentors, the way we teach, the things that we teach? How was that experience for you? Did you feel at home? Did it take a while to warm up? Do you feel like, man, these guys know their stuff?
Yeah. So the content, the course, right? A lot of what's taught in the course was things I'd either already read, had already learned through my journey of trying to understand how anxiety works. A lot of the science wasn't really as shocking to me because I've been in this for so long. And so I did have some basic understanding through different books I read, like the Claire Weeks book and Untethered Soul, and some of these books that I have read. I had some basis of the content, and also watching a ton of Sean's videos before I signed up. The value to me in signing up, the reason that I came to the program was for the community and the support system and the mentors. I know that the most successful people on the planet have not done it alone. They've hired coaches. Coaches have coaches, right? Like guys like Tony Robbins, who is one of the most prolific coaches in history, has a coach. And so why would I think that I can do it alone, especially if there's people, there's a great Chinese proverb, and I can't think of the exact way it's phrased. Shiv, I know you know this one, but it's something about if you want to know the path forward, ask those who are returning back, or something like that. You may know that one better than I do, but you know what I'm talking about? It's an unbelievable quote, but it's like, hire somebody who's been through it, that's on the other side of it, because they're more equipped to help you get there, right? And to see the problems along the way. So for me, it was about the community. When I got in, I remember the day I signed up, there was a coaching call. It was a group call. And I remember jumping on that, and like, you're like, just, I'm already in the cycle. I'm feeling terrible. I come into this call, and the first thing that happened, I think it was Kaylee's call. First thing that happens was this, she introduces new members. Hey, do you want to talk? Right. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not even putting my face on this camera. There's no way. Right. And so I ended up just sitting there listening. And before I knew it, like halfway through this call, the realization that came to me right away was that everybody was just like me, that I wasn't special. Right. I'd heard that before, but I'd never been in a room full of people who were literally dealing with the exact same thing. I mean, the question I was going to ask is the question they ask. Right. And then the next person, they ask a question. I want to ask that question too. Like every question that's being asked is exactly what I'm going through. And so that was when I realized that, okay, I don't know if this is going to work, but I at least know I'm among people who are, they understand me. Like this is a place of people that get what I'm going through. And maybe that's enough for now. Right. And so I just kind of continued to participate in the calls. I wasn't super active in posting on the community initially. I was probably, just more observing. That was kind of how I did it. And I actually think I probably could have had a better experience right out of the gates if I was more engaged. That's probably my one regret, was not engaging sooner. Because once I did engage, that's when I really started to make progress. It wasn't just the listening and hearing, although it was super valuable, but when you start engaging, that's when like the knowledge you have gets solidified, and it actually becomes ingrained in you, and you almost automatically start to do the things you need to do because you've heard it enough, and then you've repeated it enough, and then you've engaged in it enough that like it becomes like a process that you need to do. and it somehow just starts to become automatic. And that's when like recovery starts to get closer and closer for you, even though you don't really want to like, and you can't have a time frame on it because you don't know when it's going to happen. But you can start to see that it's possible once you start engaging that way. I think without a doubt, and I say this now, I wouldn't say that I'm fully recovered, right? I think like recovery is a lifelong journey, right? But I also think that I'm not engaged the way I used to be. I think that I am living my life again. And I think my relationship is different with anxiety. I think anxiety is something we'll always have throughout our lives in different situations and moments, but I'm not spiraling anymore, right? That's the part that's gone. I have a healthy relationship with it now. And, but I think that this community is, and I can say that I feel it's too cheap. Seriously, because if it could get you to where you want to be, and I look at all the money I've spent already and all the things I've tried, I could have spent 3 times the amount on the coaching for this program and still been cheaper than what I did all these years leading up to it. And that's what I mean by like there's just so much value in what's being done there, and it's not being done. Nobody in this program who's mentoring, nobody is somebody who is just hired to mentor. They're all people who have been through it. That's credibility for me right there. There is not a single person who is hired into this that is in front of people who are going through it that has not been through it themselves. I think that's important because I can't name any therapist that I ever sat down with that had actually understood what I had gone through because they haven't gone through it. Or if they have, they weren't talking about it, right? Or they weren't talking about it because they weren't able to overcome it. And so the point being is you want to be around people who are where you want to be. And this is true in business. It's true in life, right? If you want to get to a place in your life, whether it's with anxiety, business, relationships, surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, not where you've been.
100%, man. And I agree with that because, I have a bit of an entrepreneurial background as well. And
yeah,
you and I have connected on that level when we've had our one-on-ones and our talks.
Absolutely.
But you have so perfectly articulated what this experience is. I know you're giving a lot of hope. I think you and I were even speaking about just about that hope thing, right? Like people need to know that there is. Tell me more about that.
I mean, you come into this and you don't know, you can't know if it's going to work until you're inside. You can't, right? You have to come into it with a little bit of blind faith and say, I get the impression. OJ. So OJ was who I spoke to before I joined the community. And OJ, immediately I felt this sense of calm and confidence from him that gave me that initial hope that I needed. But even after I'd spoken with him, I didn't sign up. I was like, I've given up, right? Like I've just given up on trying things. But it took a little while. It just like took a little while for my brain to process, and digest. And then I thought to myself, if he can do it and he's as calm and at peace and like living his life, like that's what I want. That's where I want to be, And so I said, let's talk again. And he finally, he never asked me to join. He just said, do you think this is something that could help you? And I said, and I actually was the one who said, yeah, I actually do. Because if it's anything like you, I want to do it. But the hope piece came in once I got through the door. That was where I had to check at the door any doubt. And I had to just say, listen, I've tried it all. My list is long. All right. I have to go into this with some blind faith, right? I have to say, I'll figure it out as I go. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, but I don't need to have the answers. I don't need to solve this problem right now. I can just come into it and have the hope and the faith that in time, no matter how long it takes, if it takes 1 month or 5 years, right? If I even had to put in 5 years worth of work or 10 years worth of work to get the next 60 years of my life back, that's still a good exchange, right? So it didn't matter how long it took. It was invest the time now, do the hard work. And there's so many parallels here to business and everything else in life. You don't get instant gratification and get the result you want typically. You have to be able to go into it with some hard work mindset, to know that things are going to be difficult, but you have hope and faith and confidence in your own ability to apply yourself, that you can get to where you want to be if you surround yourself with the right people, right? So that's like the perfect recipe for success. And again, it like applies in this program and in life. And that's been huge for me to like realize, because I am somebody who's had success in my life, but I didn't always know how I did it. Going through this program, I started to understand how I did it, right? And it's because I now understand behavioral processes, I understand thought patterns better, I understand how they all connect, and it gives you that roadmap now that you can apply in every area of your life if you want to get better or improve. It starts with this foundation, and this course is so much more than helping me with anxiety. It's helping me with life, and you don't know that when you first come in, but you see it once you get further down the road, that this is so applicable to everything. And so it's really just like, if you want to have a better life and you are currently in the cycle or experiencing anxiety, or even low levels, high levels, doesn't matter, invest in yourself, right? Invest in your future. Give yourself a chance to have a great life, because tell you what, like, you look around, technology, the news, all that stuff, it's all stacked against you, right? Give yourself the best odds to have a good life. And I truly think that this is one piece of giving people that leg up, whether you're experiencing it or not. I think people who don't even have anxiety could do well in this course.
I literally thought that when I was like on the back end of it. I'm like, success principles, they're no respecter of persons. And it's the principles here, man, and but again,
Like,
so
the
perfectly well
process
said.
we use, Shiv, the process we use to address our thoughts, right? And reprogram ourselves to have a different relationship with anxiety over time. It's literally the exact same process you could do if you had an idea in business and you wanted to evaluate whether it was viable or not, or needed to proceed forward. It's the same process to go from inception of idea to concept to, whatever, business to manufacture. Like, the whole thought process is the same in business. It's the same in relationships. It's the same when you're dealing with your kids and they're having a meltdown. It's the same in like every single area of your life. This is the process you should apply from the time you have the thought, right, to where you decide how you're going to deal with the thought, and how you're going to act on the thought, and how you're going to respond in the external world, not just inside your mind, right? Like, all of those things connect. And it's like, all you'd have to do is remove the word, panic or anxiety from it, and apply, business or relationships or, spirituality. But like, this is a life skill course. And what led you here is anxiety, right? And what's going to make you so much more successful in every aspect of your life now is having been led here by anxiety and learned these skills.
I agree. And I think that resonates with a lot of people that are looking at this. You've definitely given a lot of hope. I'm sure a lot of folks listening right now are saying, yo, is this guy a coach as well with Bye Bye Panic? Because he's awesome. And
maybe someday, but not right now.
yeah. Well, I mean, listen, you have a full life, family, business that's successful that you run, and you mentioned investing in yourself. And this mature you, after trying all of this, you saw the value. And you kind of touched on it before, but I just had this burning question, man, as we wrap things up. It was, what would you say to that person who's at their lowest point, or your old self? If this program was around then, like, what do you say to that person? You mentioned, hey, the odds are stacked against you. give yourself a
Yeah.
shot. You said some of that already, but is there
Yeah.
any last words, last remarks? What would you say to that person who really is just on the verge of giving up, but still have a little bit of hope, finding about us, you know?
Yeah. I would tell them, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on yourself. It's not going to be easy. It's actually probably going to be the most difficult thing you've ever done in your life, like ever. But we grow when we go through the hard things, right? That's how we get better. That's how we learn. That's how we adapt. Hard things are what make it worth, you don't appreciate things if they're easy. You appreciate them if they're hard, and you really, really take advantage of your opportunity on the other side if it is hard to achieve. It's going to be hard. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have times where you doubt yourself along the way. You're still going to have symptoms, here and there, because humans have sensations, and like that's normal. But you can experience a full life. You can have, and I don't like to say have the life back that you had before, because you don't want that life back. You want a better life, right? You don't want the old you back. You want a better version of you that's learned something from this experience and can use that going forward as a tool and a resource to have a better life. But just don't give up on yourself, and if you feel like you're at the end of the road, you've tried everything else, what do you have to lose? Try one more time. Just try one more time, right? You have nothing to lose at this point. You've tried it all. So if you're here and you feel that way, I felt that way. And I'm so glad that I took a chance. So glad I didn't give up. So glad I didn't quit. And so glad I just said, the heck with it. I got nothing to lose. Let's just do this. Right. And then I put in the work, and I'm still doing work, right? I'm not done doing work. It's not like, it's something that you flip a light switch and you're done working on yourself. You're going to always work on yourself, but now you're equipped with the tools to do it, and to have the life that you want to have. That life that you want, it's there. You can get it. You just have to believe in yourself.
Wow. So perfectly said. I appreciate you, man. I'm sure everybody on here is looking at you saying, man, I need to get to know that guy. Don't be too surprised if folks start
Yeah.
finding you on social media and asking questions.
That's okay. It's all right.
But I know you would
Happy to
direct them
help.
to us. And yeah,
Happy
man,
to help.
we're so glad to have you. You were awesome. And folks, if you're looking at this, and you really would like to work with us, we're going to put some links in the description. Reach out. There are folks that are right there waiting to help. Hey, Jason, you mentioned, just feeling really good with the mentorship and and all of the mentors. But we have a really good, well-balanced team. We all bring something different to the table. We relate to everyone. And you want to wrap up talking about that just real quick? The different mentors that you
Oh
had that
yeah.
interaction with, you got something from everyone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're all like so different. It's hard to imagine that many people being so different yet giving you the same message. But it is like Shiv, you're super direct with everybody, and like we need to hear it. And I will tell you, like, the best thing anybody can do is experience all the mentors, every single one of them, because like sometimes you might gravitate towards one person because you're like, oh, I really like how they tell it to me. That person's actually probably the worst one for you when you're early in the cycle, because you usually need what you don't like, not what you do like when you're starting out. You need to hear it from that person, right? So if one of the mentors is triggering to you, that's your mentor. That's the one you need probably the most in that moment. And then much later on, it won't be triggering, because like that'll be that's helped you. But I think it's great to have that like diverse dynamic of mentors, because some are more soft spoken and soft approach. Some are just like, they'll call you out, right? And others are like right in the middle, right? So like, and I think the way that each of you describes, like when we ask a question, the way you answer it, you could ask the same question to every mentor and get a different answer that ends with the exact same like response, what you have to do. The action you need to take is exactly the same, but the way they explain it to you is different. And sometimes you need to hear something 5 different ways for your brain to finally click, right? You hear it one way, you might doubt that person's giving you the right response or answer. But if 5 people all give you a different answer and it ends in the same way, you're like, well, all right, I guess that's what I have to do. I can't dispute it anymore. So I think just having that diverse set of people that come from all different backgrounds, male, female, different countries, right? Like just, different ages. I mean, everything about it, right? It's just so diverse and dynamic. It really helps you. You'll have somebody there will be the one that'll help you with your breakthrough. Somebody, right? You don't know who it's going to be. You can't pick it, but like it's going to happen. That's one of them will help you with the breakthrough. And you just have to give them all a chance to help you do that.
Wow. Well, thanks again, Jason. That was awesome. I look forward to seeing you in the future, man. You're recovered or basically there, but I know we're gonna, stay in touch with you. And of course, hey, you've encouraged a lot of people here today. So, folks, there you have it. Jason Jorgensen, really crushed it. And you, just like them, probably saw some videos like this, wondered if this was for real.
Yeah.
But you did.
I was watching these.
You watched
7
these.
months ago. I was sitting here watching these videos 7 months ago.
Wow.
And I can't thank you enough, because you've been a huge support, you and all the mentors, right? I'm staying in the community. I want to help and contribute and give back. So I'm going to stick around, but I just can't thank you guys enough. You guys changed my life.
Thank you, man. I felt the exact same way. So we'll wrap it up here, guys. If you want to be like Jason, you know what to do. All right, reach out. We have folks waiting to help. So wrap it up here. Thanks again, Jace.
If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love that one. And if you truly want to master anxiety recovery and focus on long-term freedom, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification. It helps the channel out a great deal, and it allows me to continue making videos like these. Stay strong.